Hey, Dan, you're back with another True to Game video. I'm sorry to be deluging your video inboxes with this big stream of videos. I had a large conference call that I didn't have to be involved in tonight, which freed up about a 3-hour block of time. And I really wanted to knock out some of these topics. I have a huge list of ideas that I want to get to. Still almost 100 of them in here, so I got plenty of material for some time. But I got really kind of inspired to get to one of my topics, and that's this. You'll get out of the game what you put into it. And that is something that's very important. That's something I talk to anyone who's a prospective new player. I say, if you want to come on this journey with me, what you need to understand is, both as a player and a game master, what I want to do is push the envelope, push the game, push the pace up to the best level possible. I want to figure out all my tools and how they can best be applied, how they can best be sharpened, how they can best be improved. I'm very harsh on myself in terms of trying to figure out how I can get to that next level in any possible means. If I can take a technological device and add to my game with that, if I can find a new way to mix players around, a new style, a new technique, and I have a lot of different techniques, but I try to vary them up and use them. And one thing I like to do is, from campaign to campaign, do things differently, to experiment and see how that works, and just to change the pace up so things don't get stagnant. That's definitely a piece of advice. Don't let your game degrade to stagnation. But I was watching Sean Connor's video before I went off to bed, and he spoke about, basically the way I looked at it, trying to elevate yourself as a game master, to be one of the great ones. And that's also an idea that I have aimed at for the last 23 years, to continually push the pace and improve myself as a player and a game master to have exceptional skill. And that's where I aim to be, to continue to grow. And I think definitely you have to have a degree of humility and be humble to a degree, to continue to learn and to not think that you do know everything. And that's not the way I want to come off. But the 23 years, I have learned a lot, and I do have the ideas of continuing to learn even more. And through this interactive experience, hopefully, I can continue to learn even more and pick up some more tricks to add to my bag. Now, I think that it's very important that individuals realize what their tools are. Now, I could tell you the A to the Z on what I do, exactly how I do it, but that isn't going to be the style that works best for you, because you have different tools than I do, and you need to figure out what your personality is, what your mental strengths are, what your personal and social skills are, and how they're going to come across in a game, and how you can use those tools and compensate. One of the big keys is compensating for your weaknesses with your strengths. Turn the situation. As a game master, you have a great ability to turn the situation. Make sure you figure out what you're good at and try to showcase and highlight that in the game. And there's a lot of ways from the setup of a game that you can do that. Try to stay away from the areas you're weaker in as much as possible. You can work those a little bit to try to improve them. And I think you should really look at maybe one area you're weak with, and when you're getting into a campaign, and try to improve in that area. And that's a great challenge to take on. But you don't want to get off into your weak area, particularly when you're starting with a new group, as you're not going to showcase your best material. You want to hit the A material, particularly right off the bat, and have things running with a fast pace. And as Shaw kind of mentioned, presentation, and that's very important. You want to be strong and confident and powerful. You don't want to be fumbling around. Every once in a while, though, a little deception can be good. If you reach for the monster manual and you kind of thumb it, and you have no interest or intent of dropping a monster or an encounter on them at that time, that can be a good little trick there. Also, you can grab a completely different monster book than they're expecting. The monster might be you have it complete in your head. It's in book Monster Manual 2, for example, and you're thumbing through Monster Manual 5, and they're maybe trying to run through their head. Oh, what's that Monster Manual 5? What could that be? And then you can really kind of throw them for a little bit of a loop there as well. You talked about body language, and I think that's a very good point, and I definitely agree with that. The aura of confidence that you need to exude as a game master to command the audience, to your players, to really pay attention to you. It keeps them from getting out of character and degrading the game into just sort of a social hour activity. I think things like that are important, but that really has its time before and after the game. During the game, you're not really going to be able to reach that pinnacle and create art without really engaging heavily in the game itself, and trying to work towards the highest level of suspended disbelief. And that's really the key point. If everyone can get that suspended disbelief as long as possible, now you have to do a lot of things to avoid that. You don't want all the unnecessary dice rolling. You don't want, Sean, you kind of brought that up, you don't want to just be thumbing through books. You don't want to be looking at the computers and that sort of thing. It definitely brings you back into the real world, and the reason for role playing itself is to escape. So that's going to work its best, the longer you can escape. I do think you should be super prepared. The level of preparedness that you talked about, Sean, is really, for me, when I set out to run a game, I almost always set out to run a game that lasts a year, 2 years, or more than that. I've run one campaign that lasted almost 5 years. Same campaign, almost every Friday night, same players. So I want to do a lot of preparation work beforehand. I may have as many as 5 notebooks completely filled with information. I'll have important NPCs statted out completely, so that when I'm dealing with that 20th, 21st level NPC, it can be actually very interesting. Instead of, well, he just knows everything. Well, no, it doesn't seem like he has any more than one rank of knowledge in nature. And the PC's asking him a question about something about nature, and that really helps highlight and shine those ranks of nature that your PC has when he comes over there and says, "Oh, can you tell me more about this?" And the NPC's like, just barely knows enough to even understand the question, and becomes intrigued and starts actually asking the PC, and you can show despite the fact that they are vastly different in many areas in terms of power, from the NPC being more powerful so than the PC. The PC has more power there, and it does give the character more life and more vividness the more detail you put into it. I'm not suggesting, and I have ways for D&D that I outline in terms of major characters, minor characters, and such, the amount of detail that I'm going to put into them. Definitely, you want to concentrate on getting them a name, getting them a backstory, getting them of course, the most important thing is a personality built. I also like to have pictures for them. On my computer, I have maybe 1,500, 2,000 different pictures. Probably about 45% of them actually have character names to them and attached with more information levels and such like that, to all the way down to completely detailed out backstories, families, and all that sort of thing. That's one of the big key tips, I would say, in preparation. Make sure that your NPCs pop, they come to life, that they're real. You don't want to have those cardboard NPCs. NPCs are such a huge part of it. The flavor, tone, and the mood of the adventure is very important, but I've really learned over the years that NPCs are really what are going to make or break your game. They are going to be what's really remembered. And if you have an NPC, just think about it. I'll start with an NPC, and then I'll go in and I'll start delineating, well, who's his family, who are his friends, why is he here, was he an adventurer at one point, what god does he worship, what's his favorite color, what does he like to eat, why is he pursuing these goals he's pursuing, and then I go forward and back, and almost sort of storyboarding that one character out and detailing what that character's done, and then just bringing together an entire grouping around that. I find that to be very helpful in the process of determining how much life I can put into that NPC, and putting the life in there, making things pop and seem real, is going to translate over. Work shows. So for new game masters, that's a very important thing. You have to put the work in. You have to learn your world. You have to learn your system. If you have a sandbox style of game, your sandbox game will be horrible if the players go, okay, we want to go here, and you go, gosh, I didn't think about that. No, you need to know pretty much as much as you can about everywhere where your characters could conceivably get within the confines of that game session. And not to say you need to know every detail of the entire world. I'm not talking about that sort of level of detail, but you need to know so you don't get deer in the headlighted. As soon as you're a player and you watch a game master get deer in the headlighted and start handing out just these ridiculously cardboard, two-dimensional characters, there's almost not really a game there anymore, and you can't suspend disbelief on that. You need something to come with. So that's something that is very important to our sandbox style. If they can go anywhere, they need to feel like that, and you need to understand what is where. And that even goes into ecology, which is something I'm going to get to more in a later video. Let's see. But yeah, I definitely wanted to respond to that because it did really seem like a good reason to put the video together. And I told Sean I was going to give him a video response to something anyway. But I'm really big on the idea you talk about, Sean, elevating the game, pushing it forward, trying to transcend just being a game for fun and push it to an art form. And I think if you can do that, you could create those great games that people continue to talk about. Now, I've had similar experiences many times to what you have, talking about players really just falling in love with the game and talking about things that have happened 15 years ago. When I almost 10 years ago, I moved to the other side of the state. It was a 4-hour drive. My players started coming up there once a month to continue playing the vampire game. They were that dedicated to the game. That's being true to a game and wanting to stay with that. Because they really enjoyed that vampire game. And I think that that's really part of the reason I'm doing these videos is to impart that philosophy on other people that yes, games are fun and you should be having fun, and if you're not having fun, there's a big problem. But in that fun, to get to the higher level perhaps of having fun, of being able to do something that is a bit realer, you can pursue this hobby in an artistic format. And as you mentioned, that's really the road to becoming really a great game master, being able to understand how to transcend a fun game designed for teenagers into really an artistic format for adults. Another thing you talked about before I get off here, knowing the players. Now, I heard a funny story to relate there, a little anecdote. One of the players in my Ravenloft game, this is when I was in college, so we're talking over 10 years ago, his name was Ken Jones, and his character's name was Stone something. He got there late to a game session, I don't know, an hour and a half late or something, and his character had a bunch of important things in his mind he wanted to do, and I had already gone through and started, so I just NPC'd him, and I did about 12 things for him, a lot of stuff, and even role played him, the way that he played him with the voice and such. And he shows up, oh, no, my character wanted to do this, that, and the other thing. Oh, this is all wrong, we got to stop it. And then he started listing. I said, okay, again, well, what did you want to do? And he listed off in order, in almost verbatim to the way that I said what he talked about, the 12 things that I had just done. And the other players at the table, some of them literally fell out of their chairs. They were laughing so hard. And because I had rendered his character not only in the same voice, not only perfectly, but so perfectly that when he showed up demanding to do these things, all those things were already done. So I definitely agree with you. You need to know your players, and if you really want to be true to the game, you got to push it up forward. Always try to learn more. Always try to be better, and you're going to be able to bring a higher level of fun.